The World Cups of 2010 and 2014 were won by Spain and Germany. Both nations strove to create a sort of footballing DNA, much as England, late as ever to the party, are now doing, focusing on developing touch and creativity in young players. Spain and Germany were able to develop well-oiled sides who played tight, controlling football that could be both exciting and suffocating to the point of sterile. While club football had been playing 4-2-3-1 for some years, 2010 heralded the arrival of the formation on the global stage. Spain's 4-2-3-1 was, at times, a 4-2-1-3, with the double pivot of Sergio Busquets and Xabi Alonso, protecting the back four. Xavi, the link, and Andres Iniesta, David Villa, and Pedro, a mobile, deft front three. Benefiting from the use of a very Barcelona-like style with a heavily Barcelona-flavoured lineup, the tight passing triangles, bewildering movement and heavy dominance of possession, Spain looked as familiar to the viewers of the Champions League or La Liga as a cobbled-together international team can do. The fullbacks pushed up, Sergio Ramos somewhat more on his side, allowing the wide players in the attacking trident to cut inside. Busquets patrolled the area in front of the back four, while Xabi Alonso pushed up to assist with a press that was consistent, if not as manic as sometimes assumed. The striker, either Fernando Torres or David Villa, pressed lightly but stayed up rather than dropping into the midfield to defend. Most of the ball-winning energy came from Xavi, Iniesta and the other wide player, supplemented by the fullbacks. While Spain's fluidity was mesmerising, with even the shaggy-haired stopper Carlos Puyol a deft passer of the ball, many sides used the 4-2-3-1 to create two blocks, a back of six and a front four. Spain's opponents in the final, Holland, were an example of this. Holland used two sitting destructive midfielders, Nigel de Jong and Mark van Bommel, to win the ball back and feed Wesley Sneijder, who had a wonderful tournament. While Dirk Kuyt was a willing runner out wide on the left, Arjen Robben was less defensively minded, and so Holland's fullbacks pushed up less than Spain's, again creating the sense of a team divided into an attacking block and a defensive block. Sneijder did drop in and was a creative player who actually got through a greater degree of defensive work than he's often credited with, and Kuyt helped out too, which allowed Robben and Van Persie to drift around and find space. Against Spain, Holland tried to press high and unsettle Spain with their physicality, de Jong especially, but found it hard to get the ball for extended periods of time. The game was essentially won as Holland tired, and the introduction of Cesc Fabregas for Xabi Alonso allowed Spain to play more of a 4-1-2-3 and force Holland back. Spain's beautiful attrition, as Jonathan Wilson called it, won the day with an Iniesta goal, and the tiki-taka 4-2-3-1 had become the most admired style in world football. In some ways, Germany's 2014 triumph was another victory for the possession-based 4-2-3-1, although it could be argued that Germany's shape in 2014 had evolved from their 2010 system and was more of a 4-3-3. Toni Kroos, one of the world's most intelligent midfielders, was a playmaker, but sat deeper than a traditional number 10, flanked by Bastian Schweinsteiger and the ball-winning Christoph Kramer. Ahead, Miroslav Klose was a fairly traditional number 9, but Mesut Ozil was another player who dropped off, while Thomas Müller was almost a false 9 but playing in a wider position. The midfield axis of Schweinsteiger and Kroos was formidable and influential. The former dropped deeper, recycling possession wide to the advancing fullbacks Philipp Lahm and Benedikt Höwedes, while Kroos pushed up to link with the attacking trident. Benedikt Höwedes' advanced position also helped negate the threat of Lionel Messi, whose Argentina lined up in a 4-4-1-1, but one that saw the left wide midfielder, Lavezzi, push very high and central when Argentina attacked, with right midfielder Enzo Perez much more inclined to tuck in and make a midfield three, often having to push left to help Marcos Rojo out against Lahm and Müller. In this way, as Sam Tighe has pointed out, the system could resemble a fluid 4-3-3, with Messi given a free role on the right, Gonzalo Higuain leading the line and Lavezzi wide on the left. However, against Germany, Argentina opted to sit deeper, cede territory and possession, and leave Messi and Higuain isolated. When Higuain was able to occupy one or both centre-backs, Messi and Lavezzi could also push up to the opposition fullbacks, cut inside, and generally make a nuisance of themselves, with Perez getting forwards from midfield to assist. But the final showed the danger of conservative, reactive football when it goes wrong. While sitting off and looking to counter against teams like Spain or Germany, who like to hog possession, can be effective, it is a gamble. A low, narrow block makes a side hard to break down, as Argentina were in the final, but it also makes transitional attacks hard. Germany finally got the breakthrough from a combination of André Schürrle and Mario Götze combining on Germany's left flank, and won their 4th World Cup.